What's the hardest decision I've ever had to make?
Hardest decision I had to make.
Hardest decision.
What's the hardest decision I've ever had to make? It's a tough question.
The hardest decision I ever had to make? Dang.
Was deciding to disconnect life support from my mother. That was the hardest thing.
Wow, that's hard. Probably deciding what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So actually teaching was kind of one of my decisions, and then I changed my mind and I came back to it. So
which school to go to for middle through the rest of my life. Because when I have to pick through schools, I have to find where my friends would be. So I'm not a complete stranger and I don't know what I'm doing. So I would probably try picking the one, even if it's choice or not, I'd try getting in the school that my friends are in.
To choose between Captain Crunch and Special K, because Special K has the red berries, which are very nice, but Captain Crunch is a cornflake cereal, so you have to try to choose which one is better. So I went Special K because it's more healthy.
I wanted to come to Conrad or go to CAB because I got accepted to both. So it was hard if I wanted to go to CAB and do singing and acting, or come here and learn science. And I chose Conrad because with CAB you would have all the other, like reading, English, math, science, with your drama or singing, and with Conrad you wouldn't have that. So it would be easier on us because we would have less classes and we would be less stressed out.
I have literally no idea. This is it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have nothing. That's way too hard of a question.
Probably maybe straight A's.
I think by the time that I had to make my decision, it wasn't so much that I made the decision, but I realized what the decision was. Like when I was in college the first time, by the time I realized I wasn't doing right, I'd already done bad enough that I lost my financial aid and I got kicked out of school. So I didn't decide to get kicked out of school, but what was hard for me was sitting in class in my fourth quarter and realizing that I would never be able to get my grade point average up high enough to keep my financial aid, and then realizing that that decision had already been made 3 months before.
The hardest decision I've ever had to make was whether or not to become a teacher about 20 years ago. I was working in a different career and I was starting to get tired of that. I'd always wanted in the back of my mind to be a teacher. My mother was a teacher. So with my wife's permission, I quit my job, student taught, substitute taught every day, and became a teacher, and look at me now, I'm an administrator.
The hardest decision I ever had to make, the most difficult decision I had to ever make professionally was leaving the classroom as a social studies teacher and a coach and getting into administration, because I love teaching, I love coaching, and putting a suit on every day and working in an office while I still would have an impact on kids. It was a really difficult decision. I'm glad I made it, but it was really difficult.
Finishing college while being pregnant with my son. There you go.
It was like moving to Delaware and leaving New York to get a job. So it was my hardest decision.
It's pretty easy. I would say proposing to my wife, but that's the wrong answer. No, the hardest one was I'd spent 5 years at Gauger. I was in a great spot there. I worked with some great people. Students were terrific, but then I heard Conrad School of Science was about to go down, and being a science teacher, it was a no-brainer. I didn't want to leave what I knew for 5 years and the people that helped me get started in education. So I really wasn't ready to bail on them, but I took a chance on Conrad. Didn't know what it was going to be about. You know, Conrad had a very negative stigma to it originally, and I was leaving something good and going to something that was unpredictable. In the end, obviously, it was the best decision, but it was a tough one. I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah.
What high school I would go to, right? And yeah, it was a very difficult decision, but I chose Conrad. Okay.
Wow, does it take most people this long to think about it? Especially when you're my age, I've had a lot more decisions than you guys have. I guess one of the hardest decisions I had to make is that when I worked in a homicide unit with the state police, when we'd make an arrest for a homicide, sit down with the Attorney General's office, and they would decide whether it be a death penalty case or not. That'd probably be the hardest decision.
I guess whether to stay in Delaware after I graduated college or to move back closer to my family. And I decided, obviously, stay in Delaware. Just to bless your lives.
Is whether or not to divorce my first husband. And I chose to because my kids were more important.
To divorce my first husband, which I did. It was really hard because I don't believe in divorce. But I did it anyway. It was the best decision I ever made too. He would agree. We were not ready.
Está hoy día es estar lejos de mi país, de mi padre, de mi madre. Es lo más difícil que he tenido que tomar ahora. Eso es lo más importante que he hecho hasta ahora.
Probably what to do the right way. You know, like if I'm stuck with a decision making, and always I've tried to accomplish in a proper way, or try to do things the right way. So what is the right way? That is probably sometimes the toughest question for me.
Thank you.